Hey, what's up, guys? This is Marseille, aka the Property Pastor, coming at you with another great video. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about contractors and what should I look for in a good one. In this business, you're going to invariably come across contractors, and it's important that you set yourself up for success. So, I want to share with you a little bit of my experience and try to give you some tips and tools that are going to help you in your journey. Our mission here at the Property Pastor is to unlock the secrets of wealth building through real estate investing, and my goal here is to just provide you great content. In doing that, I want to remind you guys, want to ask you to make sure that you like and subscribe to our YouTube page by clicking on the bottom right hand corner. By doing so, you're going to be notified of new content as we put it out. We put out videos every single week to help you on your journey. If you're just getting started, if you're a seasoned investor, no matter where you are, I believe that we can benefit from one another, from our different shared experiences. So let's take a look real quick. So the question for today, or today's subject, like I said, is going to be, what should I look for in a good contractor? Contractors can be great. They can also be nightmarish. Fortunately for myself, I grew up around real estate. My father is actually a general contractor. So, I've been in and out of different job sites for a very long time, since I was about 7 or 8 years old, climbing up on rooftops and things like that. And I've come across my fair share of good contractors and bad ones. I've had to go back and actually redo work from contractors, which I don't want to do. My goal is to work on my business and not in my business. And really, I've come across some really good ones and some really bad ones. So I want to give you basically four basic things that you should look for. There's a lot more, but I'm going to just give you some really high level things that you should always look for in a contractor, and then also give you some tips on how you can protect yourself if you're entering into a relationship with a contractor. You may be doing a fix and flip, you may be doing a bird rehab, or you may just be hiring a handyman. It really just kind of depends on what you're doing. So in my rental property portfolio, I deal a lot with handymen, so I've got a few folks that I really rely on to take care of the day-to-day type stuff. But if I'm doing a bigger scope of work, a big huge rehab where I need electricians and I need plumbers and drywall people and framers and roofers and all that kind of stuff, I have to step out of my normal day-to-day. So these are some principles that I try to live by, and I want to share with you. Some of them have come through trial and error. Some of them have come because of bad experiences with contractors. But my hope and my prayer is that some of my bad experiences and some of those of others will help you in your journey to prevent you from experiencing that nightmare guy, because they are out there driving around in the pickup truck, sitting at Lowe's or Home Depot, and they can be really rough. But there's some really good ones out there as well. So I want to help teach you how to spot the good ones versus the bad ones. So the very first thing that I would recommend is to get references, right? Get references of that contractor, of other work that they've done. And I'm not talking about they're pulling up on their cell phone and saying, yes, I did that. They can go on Pinterest and do all of that, right? But I think it's a good idea to say, hey, what other work have you done? Because I've learned that everybody says they're good at everything, right? If you run into a guy, you ask him a question, you say, hey, can you hang vinyl siding? Oh yeah, I'm great. Can you operate a brake and bend metal? Oh yeah, I'm great. And then you get out there and they can't do anything that they said they could do, right? So get references, not just from phones, but ask them for examples of other jobs they've done. And in those other jobs, right, you can literally go to the address of that person, knock on their door, give them a call, right, whatever you need to do, and just say, hey, look, such and such, Joe Smith told me that he did your bathroom, he did your kitchen remodel. How'd you think about him? Was he clean? Was he professional? Did they show up on time? Did they do all the things that they said they were going to do? What was your experience? And if they can't provide those kind of things, it's probably a key indicator that this person may not be a good fit for you. If you're doing investing, right, one of the best things about investing is other investors, right? So other investors are going to share with you their experiences, and that's a very, you can benefit a lot from other investors. Here in my city, we have a local meetup that I'm a part of, and it's basically, we have different meetings each month, but in addition, we also have, we share information through technology, through different discussion forums. So if people say, hey, I'm looking for an electrician, folks will chime in and they'll say, hey, call, Jeff Jones or whoever that might be. He does great work. His prices are good, or whatever that looks like. So working with other investors and getting references, I think, is key. Next thing is, don't always go with the cheapest contractor. If I always say, you should get at a minimum 2 or 3 bids. If you're really in a rush, get 2. If you got experience with people, you don't have to get too many bids. But if you're starting out, it's a good idea to get multiple bids, because you're going to see a big price swing, and you're going to have folks who will come out. One person may come out walk on the job in 5 minutes and say, all right, that'll be $5,000. Another person may come out with a clipboard, checklist, taking measurements, doing all this kind of stuff, and then they're $15,000. The gullible person may say, yeah, well, here's a 5 grand person, but I've learned that sometimes you get what you pay for. I had a person once that did a job so low, I actually went back to him and I said, look, there is no way you can do this job for this. And I showed him, I was like, look, here's this part, here's that part, here's that part. And they're like, oh, well, I didn't think about that. And maybe we can do it for your price. And I was like, look, I don't, maybe we shouldn't. It's probably not a good idea for us to do this. So the cheapest price is not always the best. For me, I'm looking for value, right? But I don't mind paying for high quality. I don't mind paying for speed. And I certainly don't mind paying for a job well done. I mean, I've had nightmare experiences where I've had people, I had a drywall guy one time, he was the GC on the job, and he went and he hired another person, and he didn't vet the guy he hired. And by the time, came back, long story short, they had messed the ceilings all up and all this kind of stuff. And unfortunately, I didn't have to tear everything down. We just did a texture ceiling and kind of covered it all up. But hey, it can be rough. So like I said, don't always go with the cheapest bid. Next thing is make sure that contractor is licensed, right? Make sure they're licensed, So you want either a Class A, Class B, or Class C contractor. What that means is that they are certified to do certain levels of work. And where I'm at, in my area, typically have Class A, Class B, or Class C, and basically they can do jobs up to a certain size. If you're a Class A contractor, they can do, the biggest type of projects. I mean, they can be building, developments and commercial buildings and all that kind of stuff. Whereas a Class B is, they can do jobs up to a certain monetary value, and then Class C drops down a little bit lower. So make sure they are licensed. Last thing is make sure they have insurance. Make sure they have insurance. I believe you should have your own insurance as well if you're doing a big project like builder's risk. We'll talk about that here in a second. But make sure that person is licensed, bonded, and insured, right? You want to make sure they got all of their stuff in, because if you get into different issues, you don't want all of that stuff falling back on you, right? So you want to be, these are just some quick, diligent steps. So the next question is, how do I protect myself, right? What things should I do to protect myself from getting burned by this contractor, from getting my money taken from me, from getting a really poor job done, or whatever that looks like? My recommendation is that you always have an agreed upon scope of work. So what is a scope of work? Scope of work basically says, here's what we're going to do. This is the materials we're going to use, right? So if we're doing a bathroom, we're going to use this kind of tile. This is the grout color. We're going to cover this much square footage, and a very good, strong description, so that, because what I found is that contractor may be doing your job and 5 other ones, and they are going to forget. They're going to mix up the details and things like that. And honestly, what I've gotten to the place of, if they don't want to agree to my scope of work, then we're probably not going to do business, because we must be on the same page. And there's nothing personal. I always tell them it's just business, right? So make sure you have an agreed upon scope of work. It doesn't need to be, we're going to use, 1 1/4 inch nails, whatever the case might be for the shingles versus a 1.5, whatever that looks like. But you want to make sure that your general guidelines are covered. You want to make sure that you and that contractor are on the same page in terms of what you're going to be doing. Next thing is, I believe you should have a signed contract. That signed contract should incorporate the scope of work. It should incorporate the fee and the draw schedule. It should incorporate exactly who's going to do what and when they're going to get paid. Because if not, both of you can find yourself in court. And in court, they may be putting liens against your property, and mechanics liens is what they call them where I live at. But basically, having a contract, something that's going to hold up in court, and something that you can agree upon and both sign and initial all the change orders and things like that is important. Next thing, make sure your contractor pulls permits. If you're doing a really big job, you're doing a kitchen rehab, or you're tearing down walls, you're doing a fix and flip, make sure your contractor pulls permits. You got people that will try to skirt by and do things, but what I've learned is that everybody doesn't do stuff the right way. So you want to make sure that contractors pulling permits, making sure that work is being done up to code. All of these are important things, because it can bite you in the long run if you try to go and sell the house and find out that work wasn't really done up to code. The next thing is that you want to make sure you are managing the contractor, right? Manage the contractor. Now, I think the more you do real estate investing, you're going to have to get your hands dirty, right? You're not necessarily going to be the one out there swinging hammers, but you need to have a general working knowledge of construction. You need to have a general knowledge of hey, what does a good drywall seam look like? What's the difference between flat paint and semi-gloss paint? When does something need to be caulked? When does it need to be screwed? When does it need to be nailed? What's the difference between flooring types? So, but you want to make sure you're able to manage the contractor, because if you don't, that contractor may never show up, and you're thinking your job's going to be done, in a month, and it's been a month, and you come out and no work has taken place. So it's important that you manage the contractor, show up on job sites, every now and then go walk it. If you can't walk it, if you're doing an out-of-state investment deal or whatever the case is, you can get them to make you videos, post them on YouTube, send you video updates, things of that nature. You want to be able to make sure that your scope of work is being followed and your schedule is being adhered to. It's really important that you manage that contractor, because if you don't, then especially once they start getting paid, and we'll talk about that one here in a second at the very end. The other thing is make sure that you have your own insurance on a big job, right? So if you're using hard money lenders, or doing any kind of construction with an actual bank loan, most of them will make you carry builder's risk insurance. And what that's going to cover is, hey, this person is out there working, they get hurt, or you get things stolen from your property, all that kind of stuff. Those are important aspects of the job that you want to make sure you cover. So make sure that they have insurance, but then also you may want to carry your own insurance for the project as well, in the form of builder's risk. Last but not least, money, right? Money. So a lot of, there's so many stories of folks who have paid a contractor and they've taken off and never be seen again. So let's say, for example, you have a $10,000 job. And if you go in and that person says, all right, I require a 75% deposit up front, and before any work's done, I require 75%. You probably don't want to do business with that person. They may try to talk you into giving you all the money up front, or they may just be a really nice guy. It could be a friend, it could be a family member, whatever that is. But if you go into it and you pay all the money up front, and you are just relying on them based on their word, or they're just a charming, nice guy, whatever the case is, you and your money just parted from one another, and you may not ever see it again. So it's highly recommended that you set up what we call a draw schedule. So with a draw schedule, depending on how long that project is, typically a draw schedule is going to be broken up either in thirds or sometimes quarters. It just really kind of depends. I mean, you kind of have this up to you how you want to set it up. If you're doing materials, or the contractors get materials, you may kind of draw it up a little bit differently. But you and the contractor can have that conversation, and basically you want to be comfortable. You want to make sure you're comfortable, and they put you in a position that you're not comfortable in, then maybe you guys shouldn't do business. But like I said, a draw schedule is basically, it is an agreed upon schedule by which payments will be dispersed. So what I usually like to do is we'll take the scope of work and we will divide it up into sections. So basically, if that contractor, say for example, we'll start the job with, 30-40% as a deposit, right? Because they got to get materials, they may have employees they need to pay and all that kind of stuff, right? And that allows them to get materials and get started. At the agreed upon interval, I will go in and I'll inspect the work, and we will make sure that, hey, this is done. So if we said at this point we're going to have framing finished, we were going to have wiring pulled, whatever that looks like, and we were going to be completed with the rough end inspection, right? Rough end is just a framing inspection or whatever. So if we agree that we're going to have that, after that's done, I come in, I check all the work, and we say, okay, cool, everything looks good, I'm satisfied, they're happy, the work looks good, we've passed that phase of the permitting or whatever, and now we will disperse a check. Right? So then we move to the next draw. So in the next draw, go back to our scope of work. Another percentage of the work has to be completed, and we do that so on and so forth until the entire job is finished, right? So, and then when the job is actually done, we'll actually go and walk the job, pull out the scope of work, make sure everything is done, make sure all, if there's permits involved, inspections, everything's passed, everything that I need, I have, and everything they need, they have, and then everybody's happy. So that's really what it's about, So, but there are a lot of things you can do to kind of protect yourself, because if you don't, it can be very frustrating. You can be taken advantage of by some contractors out here, and you don't want to do that, right? So, and on the other hand, contractors have to do things to make sure they're safeguarded and whatnot. But these are just some things that I wanted to kind of share with you guys to cover. If you're doing a burr project, you're doing a fix and flip, you're just getting started, you're scared out of your mind. I know folks that are like, everything I do, I want it to be turnkey. I don't want to touch it. No contractors, just buy it and put renters in it. That's fine and good, but you are going to pay a premium for that. You're going to deal with contractors if you got older properties that need rehab work. If you buy them undervalued, you want to go and actually add value to them through forced appreciation. you're going to have to deal with these guys, you know. So basically, like I said, I want to give you this video. I hope it's been beneficial to you. If you have any comments, maybe if you have shared experiences or horror stories even, make sure you drop them in the comments below. I love to hear about them, love to talk to you about them, answer any questions you might have. With that being said, this is the Property Pastor, Marseille, aka the Property Pastor. I want to give you another video. Great content coming out every single week. Make sure you like and subscribe to our page. Hey, God bless you guys. I love you so much. I'm cheering for you. I wish you nothing but the best. You know, don't be afraid to step out there. Don't be afraid to try new things, because you can do anything. Love you guys. Talk to you again soon. God bless. Until the next time.